This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so the reading aids in Discus this afternoon are going to cover just actually across our platform vendor databases from Britannica to Gale, Credo. We have some EBSCO examples. Um, Also in our Learn 360, they've also added some more abilities there. We're going to start out with Britannica School for two reasons. One reason, it is a platform that really goes across K through 12. We have Britannica Elementary School, Britannica Middle School, and Britannica High School. And it also is really our most robust software for being able to assist our readers with the tools that are offered there. The first example that I want to give you is the double-click dictionary that you're going to find across all three platforms of elementary, middle, and high in your Britannica School software. So if a student is reading along, perhaps this article on Charles Cornwallis, and they don't know what the word nobility means here, they can double-click on the word, and it is going to provide them with a dictionary definition. So they're going to get a pop-up with the definition written out, also with the phonetic spelling, and a listen aloud feature, so they can actually hear the word pronounced as they're reading along. And I have found that that is actually being used across the three elementary, middle, and high for all levels, really. The second piece is the Listen Aloud tool that you're going to find in the Britannica School platform. And you can see that you have options there on the right. This is going to be at the article level. So once a student runs a search, such as Vincent van Gogh, they are going to have that capability to listen aloud, and the words are highlighted as they're being read. Um, and we're going to look in a moment at the font size adjuster. It's really a good idea if you start with the font size adjuster so that the students will be able to very clearly see the words as they're being read aloud. If you wish, I would recommend, if you want to explore this feature during the webinar, if you would like to just open a new tab at the top in your browser and go out to scdiscus.org and go to the A to Z list, you can go ahead and click on any of the Britannica School links there. And you can pull up an article and actually hear it being read aloud. Unfortunately, this webinar software that we have does not allow the audio to come through for you to be able to hear it. So if you want to do that as we go along to kind of practice with it and see what you think there. One thing I have noticed across our Discus platform, across the various vendors, is the speed of the reading level varies. So some of them are read rather quickly and some are read more slowly whenever you're doing the listen aloud feature. The Listen Aloud feature in the Britannica Elementary looks a little bit different. It's in a different location, and I wanted to make sure that I point out to you where that is because it is the same feature, but it's going to be located at the top of an article. So once they do a search, for example, on shark, and they go, you will see the read aloud feature is here at the top inside the article. And then if students go down to click on where sharks live or physical features or others down at the bottom here, it will always be in the top portion of their article for them to be able to listen aloud to that section. So this is very useful if you have young readers who would benefit, again, from having it read aloud and the words highlighted as they're read. Also for those that are more auditory learners that just like to be able to hear the text. There is the font size adjuster, and this is going to be in the tools section of Britannica Elementary along your right-hand column, and you are able to increase or decrease the font size within the software. And there is an advantage to this because you can, of course, increase or decrease font size inside your browser. Just do a browser increase or decrease. But this is very useful, particularly for students at schools that have gone one-to-one and have the Google Chromebooks or have iPads for the font within the articles to be enlarged and not the entire font for the whole software screen. The next tool inside Britannica School is the translation tool. This is going to be available again across all 3 levels of Britannica Middle, High also. It's just in a little bit different location, but you're going to find that here, the little symbol of the world. And when you click on the world, you're going to see this piece that says translate this page. And for the teachers and librarians, you can kind of see at the bottom exactly what it's going to do, so you know what to expect with that. After translating an article, all the tools except font up and down will be disabled. To re-enable the tools or convert back to English, click View Original on the Google Translate bar. So once you're in it, you don't actually use the tools in Britannica to go back to the English version. You're actually using the tool on the translate bar that pops up whenever you go to use the translation. So for instance, we have here a page that we've selected. When you click on the down arrow, when you click on the world, you get to choose which language you would like it to be translated to. In this case, we've chosen Russian. We've had some people from the upstate actually ask us specifically for Russian resources because they have several Russian families that have moved into their district. So this is a very useful translation tool within the software. In some of our other platforms, such as the Credo reference platform, you can actually translate the entire interface into another language. That makes searching also easy for your patron. So the next feature that I want to show you in Britannica School is actually the scalable reading levels. And this is another reason I started out with Britannica, because this becomes more and more important from K through 12 when you're working with students who are maybe resource students or special needs, and they aren't reading on their reading level, or just any student that is not reading on their reading level, or perhaps just one particular article is a little bit too complicated for them to read and they need to be able to scale it down, and vice versa. I know when I was out at a literacy fair, at literacy night actually, out at Aiken, We had students that would come through the little fair and they would tell me, oh no, I'm reading at a Lexile of blah, 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 blah. That was, several grade levels above them, where they actually were. So they might want to scale up that reading level when they're in some of these databases to be able to get a little bit more meat to read there. Where you're going to find those are at the top of each article. And this is going to be across the Britannica platform. And right now we're currently at level 1, but I have moved us into the level 2 here. Notice it is a darker shade of purple. Notice also that we are now, it automatically switches us to the middle school interface now that I have clicked from the elementary school for a little bit more difficult reading level. One of the nice features is if they are in the high school version of Britannica school, they, whenever they scroll down or whenever they scale down a different reading level, they're going to be able to still see that high school, but they're going to have the reading level that's going to be a little easier for them. So there isn't any kind of stigma about, having to read it from a different school level interface. Do you all have any questions at this point of some of the features covered here? I'm just scrolling through to see if there's any other chat information. If any of you maybe have a specific patron or student need and you're wondering if Discus has any of the tools that will help a specific need, please put that in the chat and I can also address those types of questions. So if we do click on the Britannica School number 3 here, we are going to get the high school level. So that's generally very loosely, 1 is more elementary, 2 is middle, and 3 would be high school. There's also a robust video collection in the Britannica School software, and when you run a search on sharks, you're going to be able to see little buckets on your result list where you'll see videos on the left, you'll see magazine articles, primary sources, any of those other types of information. And what you're going to find here is you do have the closed captioning, and you also have a transcript immediately below the video itself. So that comes in very handy if you want to have the students be able to hear the video at the same time they're viewing the transcript and or the closed captioning. You can also just copy and paste the transcript information and put it into a Word document if you want to hand that out to students to be able to have the textual information in a transcript form at the same time they're watching the video. Speaking of videos, we're sticking with our shark theme here, but we're now looking at our Learn 360 video interface. And you are going to find also in Learn 360 that they have added transcripts to their videos. Some of the older videos, like from the 90s, some of the ones that I've found that are older videos, publication date-wise, don't yet have transcripts, but you'll always be able to tell where the arrow is pointing here. You have you can toggle back and forth from your video segments to your transcript. So you'll note at the bottom of this picture, you see the CC closed captioning option, and you also see a little settings wheel next to that. So you can set it as to how fast that it streams there in the settings. And then when you turn the closed captioning on, you are going to be able to have the text visual on the screen as the video is playing. And there are also additional settings that you see here. And I'm just going to go back 1 or 2 clicks to show you. If you look at the very bottom of this red box on the right, there's another settings wheel there next to the printer. And when you click on that settings button, that's when you're going to get these options that you see on the right to be able to set the transcripts, select whether you're showing captions or not, and whether or not you're showing who is doing the speaking whenever you have a transcript on. The next resource that I'd like to show you is the Credo reference resource. And this one, we are again sticking with our Sharks screen. This one is for about 5th graders all the way up through high school and adult. There are about 800 reference books here. Many of them are specialized reference books. There's also the mind map tool that you see there on the left that is breaking out different types of sharks and just a hierarchy of the word shark. So there's kind of a lot going on this page. But once you get into an article, if we click on the topic page there for hammerhead sharks, you will see in this software, there is also a listen aloud function there with the very common little infographic icon there. And you can see also that there is the option there on your right to translate. And that's what the little A there on the side is. And you can see here that we've translated this particular article into Spanish. And the Credo reference tool also gives you, I'm just going to go back a couple of clicks here. This is the one that I had mentioned before, that you can actually translate the interface, and you can translate that from the main Discus page. It'll be on the top right-hand side if you want to actually translate the entire search interface as well. So when the read aloud is turned on here, it also is going to highlight the text for the readers as well. So our Gale vendor also has provided tools at the article level when using Gale Biography and Gale Opposing Viewpoints. Those are going to be found after a search is conducted and they've selected either a newspaper article, a magazine article. This particular article comes from one of the reference books, Contemporary Heroes and Heroines here. But all of the tools, just this summer, they've changed it to where all of the tools that we're speaking of today and all of the ability to export to your Google Drive and your Microsoft OneDrive or email or download are all along the same page there, right at the very top of the article instead of being in different places. For Gale Kids Infobits, this one is a little bit different because, as you all know, the Kids Infobits interface is different from the one that is shared by Gale Opposing Viewpoints and Biography. And this one, Kids Infobits, is for K through 5 levels. And you can see once they've searched here, you can see on the right-hand side here, the font adjuster, the font size adjuster for large and small. And the Listen Aloud feature is always going to be this button at the top of the article. So unlike your Gale Opposing Viewpoints and Biography, where they're all on the same line, these are going to be in a couple of different places. So you would probably want to look for those when you are assisting a patron. So that's all that I have as far as the slideshow portion of this. And I am going to escape out of this. See if I can get this to come down here. And I'm just going to close out of the slides so that we can also look at some of the features inside our EBSCO databases there. Let's see if I can close out some of these. So I'm just going back down to the Discus main page, the main site here. And I'm going to go into our EBSCO databases. Probably I could just go ahead and do a smart search to show you all this one because all of the databases that you're searching across in smart search, this is for about middle school through high school. These are going to pull from several databases across the platform of Gale, Credo, and others, but it's going to be inside their software for the results that you're pulling from your EBSCO databases, such as Middle Search Plus, Academic Search Premier, and some of the others. So if I just do a quick shark search here, notice this is a keyword search that you see up in the top drop down beside the word shark. And I have over 800,000 results. I can also change that to a subject search to make it more specific. So the word shark just doesn't have to appear willy-nilly anywhere. And I've gotten from my 800,000 down to only 20,000. But what you'll notice is when you first run that smart search, there was a research starter that you saw on that very first screen. So I'm just going to go back as though we'd just done our smart search search, and you'll see this research starter is now a feature that they have added to be able to give the student or the patron an overview of the topic before they start looking at all of these specific articles, videos, magazine articles, newspaper articles, etc. So once I'm inside an article here inside our EBSCO software, you'll see that the translate piece is at the top of this article also here, where you can select the language. I'll just click here for it to translate it into French there. And when you're in the EBSCO interface, you're not going to see a tool to change the font sizes. So you would, in that case, need to just adjust it in your browser. So you would just enlarge it using the browser, and instead of a specific font adjuster tool. Notice in your far right corner, you also have a languages options on the right. It's sometimes easier if you're just wanting to read a particular article and translate it as we did from the article at the top of the article, but the language that you're changing it to from the top portion of the inside the green navigation bar, notice is changing that search interface. So now we're still searching on sharks, but I think this is maybe, not really sure what language I picked, but you can see that even all of the search buttons and the interface is all searchable in another language. And then once the person found the article, so if you are in one of the areas where up in the upstate or throughout the state where there is a Russian population, a Russian community, for instance, they could do their searching with the search interface, but you could also then go back and change the translation of the actual text of the article for them as well. Don't see that it's working on this one. Let me see if I can get it to do another language. So if you want this to go back to English, you can click there. And notice they also, whenever I clicked on the top left in the other language, it takes us back to the Smart Search interface, but it's also translated. So I'm highlighting the chat. Does anybody have any questions about that? About the uses for that, or do you have any, like I said before, any specific questions about patrons that you're trying to assist? So I'm going to go back to just our Discus platform once again. I'm going to go to the A to Z list here. And again, those of you from public libraries, if you're certainly going to have yours organized directly on your website, I do want to inject one little piece to do with that. And that is, if you see something that is on our website that you want linking instructions for, you can certainly email Discus office. Sometimes I'll be out at public libraries and I'll be doing some training, and I'll find out that they don't yet have the links for some of our newer databases like our career transitions, or our World Almanac for Kids. So if you do want to add those, you can certainly email Discus office at statelibrary.sc.gov, and they will help you with that process. I'm just going to go into Tumble Books here to also show you, especially for your younger readers, levels K through 6, when they use the storybooks in Tumble Books here. And I'm just going to go down and click on one here as an example. You're not going to be able to hear it because we don't have that capability right now. We are working on some better software, but I just wanted to show you along the left-hand side, the book will be read aloud and all of the words will be highlighted. So the words are highlighted or revealed or emphasized as the book is being read. But notice also on the right that you can actually choose the manual option with the red M. You can turn the volume off. And then you can go and let your student or your patron, if you notice in the left and right hand corners, they can actually do the read aloud. Let's see if I can click it back to manual. They can actually turn the pages left to right and read at their own pace if they choose to do that. So you can have them read out loud in different groups, or you can let them, especially if you're working with parents and their children, they can use a manual format or the automated format that reads it aloud for them. So those are the primary reading aids in Discus that we have, that each vendor, they're continuing to develop more and more of these types of things. Like I said, Britannica is really our Cadillac of interactive software where they've really come up with a lot of good features. But like when I mentioned Learn 360, you'll see here our link to Magic School Bus. That's actually a product we purchased that lives in the Learn 360 software, along with Reading Rainbow, the Electric Company series, and Sesame Street. So for those of you that are working with younger patrons or students, you're going to have those same Learn 360 features with the transcripts and the closed captionings for all of those series for the younger children as well. So do we have any questions at this point? Okay, well, Betty and Julie and Stephanie, I appreciate you tuning in this afternoon. I hope that there's some tools there that you didn't already know about, and perhaps that you can put in good use as you move forward. And great, great, great. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Please let me know if you all have any questions. Again, you can just directly email Discus office at statelibrary.sc.gov if you have questions, or if you need any additional assistance. I hope to see you in our future webinars. Thank you and have a good afternoon.